taught that anxiety is a disorder to medicate and not a pattern that we can retrain. And I don't agree. And over the tens of thousands of hours that I've spent with clients, especially with leaders and people who live very high functioning, high responsibility lives, I've seen that anxiety behaves a lot less like a disease and much more like a highly trained skill, a pattern your brain and body have repeatedly practiced until they ran on autopilot. And when I talk about anxiety as something your system has practiced, it's not to say that you're at fault. It is to say that your brain and body have been responding in perfect sync with the world they inherited, the stories and the pressures that taught you to stay on high alert. And because that pattern was trained, even accidentally, you can now intentionally train your system to move in the direction you actually deserve and desire. And what this means is your system has learned anxiety, overwhelm, and pattern stress responses that are perfectly calibrated to the world it believes it's in. A world where you have to stay on high alert to feel safe or successful. Your nervous system is not overreacting, it's over-adapting to an outdated information system. And the same power that practiced those responses can be used to retrain your brain and body into an optimized, peaceful, genuinely happy state that makes true success and optimization possible. Anything learned can not only be unlearned, but it can be rewired to take you exactly where you want to go. Hi, I'm Brandy Roshan. I'm a registered clinical counselor, and I specialize in helping people heal their anxiety, not just manage the symptoms for a little while, but actually retrain their nervous systems towards peace and happiness and optimize success that is actually sustainable. I built this video and the blog, Anxiety is Not Random, It's Practiced, as a two-part focused mini course. Each stands on its own, but they really work best together. The blog gives you the framework, and this video helps you apply that framework to your own patterns. After you watch, go to my website, brandyroshan.com, and read the blog, Anxiety is Not Random, It's Practiced. Okay, so let's talk about why your anxiety feels like it comes out of nowhere, what's actually happening in your brain and body, and how real lasting change happens and is sustained. So I want you to think about the last time that your anxiety spiked, and maybe your heart started racing when you opened your inbox and saw that, you had received an email from a certain person, or maybe your mind really was spiraling at 2:00 in the morning with what if thoughts about dynamics at work or money or your family, or maybe a simple text that said, "We need to talk," sent a wave of dread through your body. And it probably felt like it came out of nowhere. And under the surface, something very strategic and organized was happening. Your brain has been rehearsing certain interpretations of stress for years. Thoughts like, "I'm the problem," or "they think I'm not good enough," or "if I drop the ball, everything's going to fall apart." And every time you met or created uncertainty with those kind of thoughts, your brain was taking note. Your brain essentially said, "Fear is what we do here, and we do it repeatedly. So to be economical, I'll create a fast and automatic route for this response. So you don't have to think about going into panic each time." And this is what I mean when I say anxiety is practiced. It's not your identity, and it's not a diagnosis that you have to live with. It's a habitual response that your mind and body have memorized and habitualized, and habits can be changed. The same brain and body that practiced, anxious, high stress responses can be retrained to be peaceful and optimized and genuinely happy, which is fundamental in supporting your success rather than chipping away at it. Now, I want to separate two things that often get blurred together, and that's stress and anxiety. Stress itself is not a problem. Stress is your body's short-term survival response. Your brain signals your body to release stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol, which boost blood flow and wake up the parts of your brain responsible for focus and decision-making, especially in your prefrontal cortex. Now, in the right dose, that chemistry helps you really lock in and respond quickly and effectively. So it can be really easy to start believing that stress is the thing that's keeping you sharp. And this is something I often hear people that I work with say, is that I'm afraid that if I let go of this stress, I'll lose my drive or my edge. And what I want you to hear is that we are not trying to get rid of your capacity for intensity. In the right dose, that chemistry helps you lock in what matters and respond very quickly and effectively. But it was designed to be short-lived. It's time limited. And when your system gets stuck there, it becomes this chronic overdrive, and over time, it burns you out. And it makes those high-level creative parts of your brain much harder to access. Anxiety happens when the stress is filtered through high stakes, intense fear again and again. Instead of, this is intense, but I can handle it, your brain jumps to, this is dangerous, I'm not safe, something's wrong. Then you repeat that pattern enough times, and your brain learns when there's uncertainty, we panic. In neuroscience, there's this principle, it's called Hebbian learning. And you might have heard of it as, sometimes you hear it as neurons that fire together, wire together. And really, in plain language, what that means is that what you repeat becomes your brain's default setting. So if your default response to stress is this catastrophic thinking, bracing for rejection, or constantly scanning for what might go wrong, your brain will build what I like to call a neural anxiety superhighway. It's fast and it's this fast, well-traveled route that takes you straight from something happened to I'm not okay. And after a while, those thoughts do not feel like choices. They just appear. And that's your anxiety on autopilot. People often tell me that their anxiety or their panic attacks seem to come out of nowhere. They'll say things like, things were going good. I wasn't even feeling that stressed. I thought I'd worked through my stress. Again, that's the autopilot. Your brain and your body are no longer looking for your direction. They take you to anxiety or high stress automatically. And this is where I want to be really clear. For some people, medication can be appropriate and really helpful. And I'm not against that. Medication can calm symptoms and create enough stability that, real deep change work is made possible. But medication does not decide what your brain does or does not wire in. You do. Medication can support neural change, but it does not direct or sustain new wiring on its own. Lasting change comes from what you repeatedly think, feel, and do. And if the same interpretations and responses keep being practiced, medication in and of itself, by itself, will not rewire them. You do. This is why it's so important you work at this level, and why I work at this level with my clients. Retraining the nervous system and reshaping the patterns your brain and your body keep running to and returning to, not just easing the symptoms on top of all of that. This can be really important and often validating. Anxiety does not always start as a conscious thought. Very often, your body reacts first before you're fully aware of what's happening. Your amygdala, which is the alarm system in your brain, scans for threats and can trigger a stress response in milliseconds. And that happens long before your logical brain has formed a clear thought about anything. Your heart has its own electromagnetic field, which sends signals up to your brain about safety or danger. Your gut and your cells release what researcher Candace Pert called molecules of emotion, which are chemical messengers shaped by emotional patterns you've experienced many times. So maybe your chest tightens every time someone raises their voice in a meeting, or maybe your temples start pounding, when you're replaying a mistake that you made 3 days ago. Maybe your stomach drops the moment you see your boss's or your partner's name on your phone. Those sensations are not random. Those sensations are the physical expression of the emotional patterns your system has learned. This is why anxiety often feels like it comes out of nowhere. Your body fires first. Your mind rushes in afterwards and usually fills the space with fear. So I want you to hear this really clearly. You are not your anxiety. You are a whole human whose nervous system has been trained into certain patterns. Your worth is not in question. Your system is simply overly practiced at anxiety. And anything that's been practiced can be practiced in a new direction. The same brain and body habit can be retrained into that optimized, peaceful, genuinely happy state that allows you to lead and create and perform without constantly fighting yourself on the inside.